Excited for today's follow-on session. If you did not catch last week's LinkedIn Live, I did a session around really the first, I gave just the first few. What our team has done is really tried to analyze around ChatGPT and generative AI. What are the parts of the sales process that will actually, using this will actually move the needle? And I think for a lot of people out there, that's really what we're trying to figure out is, okay, Jake, we keep hearing about this. We keep hearing about this. What's actually going to move the needle for my business? So I'm not sitting here wasting a bunch of time and energy. So what's going on, everyone on LinkedIn? I'm pulling up my LinkedIn now so I can interact with all y'all's comments and everything. Give me 1 second while this pulls up. You can only do it live, so you can't really add anything prior. So if you didn't check out part one, check out part one. It was from last Monday. Again, really well attended. So we had a lot of people show up. Looks like we have 30 plus folks in here now, more rolling in. Feel free, drop in where you're joining from and your role. I always enjoy getting to know, where people are joining us from. And also, do we have more leaders here? What's up, Thomas? First time in the session. Well, Thomas, good to have you, man. Good to have you. Make sure to check out last week's session too. Every Monday, 11 Central, 12 Eastern. You can translate that for whatever your time zone is as well. So I'll give everyone a quick recap of what we covered last time. So from last time, what we covered is really, I'm going to give you guys kind of the 4 that we covered from the last session. One was around preparation. And I talked a lot about different ways to utilize ChatGPT to help you with preparation for and getting up to speed on different personas, industries, etc. What's going on? Jamie in Baton Rouge. Never been to Baton Rouge before. We've got some folks from Ireland. Let's see. Lyndon's here in Austin. I'm back in Austin after spending most of the week in Miami, which was amazing. Had a lot of fun there. So preparation. Number 2 is personalized messaging. I feel like out of the 9, this is the one that's getting all the love, is like personalized messaging. You can write better emails. Like I'm telling you right now, for a lot of you, like the messaging that you're writing with ChatGPT is like mediocre at best. Okay. So, but you can train it to do better and better and better at like, hey, this persona really cares about this thing. All right. What's up? Denmark, Nashville, Chicago's in the house. So good. Appreciate everyone joining this morning. So we've got preparation. We've got messaging. Follow up. And again, I'm just recapping from last week, those of you who are joining, and then I'm going to get into the next 5 for you. And then follow up. Follow up is one that not a lot of people realize. Like I can actually use it to help me to write follow-up templates as well. So ChatGPT can help me to write follow-up templates. Again, if you missed this session last week, you're like, what is he talking about? The link is at the very first comment here. So go check that out as a part of it. And then the 4th one I talked about that I thought was really, I think, different for some folks is advanced prep. So what do I mean by that? We'll call it like big company, big meeting prep. One of my favorite use cases for ChatGPT is more complex situations. Hey, I have a sale where this thing happens, this thing happens, this thing happens. Help me to think about what are some of the things that might go wrong. Like what are some of the objections that this person might have, they might not have. So again, think about how you can use it for like advanced prep. So that's my 1 through 4 we covered last one: prep, messaging, follow up, and call it advanced. We call it advanced prep, or you could think of it as complex meeting, whatever, complex meeting support. Okay, so number 5. So if you're joining us now here, what's going on? Little Rock in the house. We got Ottawa, Canada's in the house. What's going on, Cam? Hope you're doing great, man. So we've got number 5. Again, is building credibility. Okay. So what do I mean by this? Leo, I use it to role play cold calls all day, dude. And it's such a good, and for all my sellers out there, don't just think of role playing cold calls. What about role playing the meeting that's coming up? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Okay. Oh, number 5 here is building credibility. Okay. And so what do I mean by that? Again, going back to Leo called out role play. I was with the Miami Marlins, are a client of ours. Shout out to the folks over at the Marlins, if any of them are tuned in. I was sitting with their business development team on Wednesday. Was that when? No, Friday. And I was telling them, like, look, as you guys are senior sellers, these are people who have been in sales for 10, 15, 20 years. We can all use that second gut check, right? So think about building credibility. Let's say, look, I've sold into different industries for a while, but I'm like, I don't know a ton about this type of finance. So imagine I can literally copy and paste in their about page. I can copy and paste in the LinkedIn bio of the person I'm meeting with. And I could literally say, hey, ChatGPT, I've got a meeting coming up with the person. Here's what they do. Our product, we solve these challenges. Here's what their companies do. What are 2 or 3 ways we might be able to help them? What are, based on the way that this person talks about themselves, what are 2 or 3 points I might want to bring up with them? So again, around building credibility, think about how you can utilize ChatGPT or Bard, or I don't really care which one you use, Bing. We've been using Bing a lot more lately. And again, a lot of you are like, Bing, I'm going to turn this off immediately. He said to use Bing. But Bing is also using OpenAI, and it's allowing you to pull from the internet too. So it's worth checking out. I'll tell a lot of you that as a part of it. So building credibility, that's number 5. For all my sellers out there, again, I feel like a lot of people think ChatGPT is to help me to write better emails to generate meetings, and then they still don't work. No, ChatGPT is going to help you to establish credibility. Okay, number 6, numero 6. Got a chance to practice a lot of my Spanish in Miami, which is also a lot of fun. Problem, solution, mapping. And I teased this one a little bit when I just gave the last example. Okay, so again, this isn't just for new reps. Okay, so going back, and I kind of teased this one actually in my last answer. Okay, I've had a first meeting with somebody. They seemed interested into this. How could I better explain these 3 benefits of my product in their language around these challenges? What ChatGPT and, again, Brian shouting out, Bing Chat is sneaky good. He's out here advocating. Is imagine what it allows me to do as a rep is, again, instead of saying, okay, great. Hey, how can we help you with ABC? You could literally be on the sales call. You could be on a call live. Sorry, just get my mic right. And you could literally say, okay, I'm meeting with this. Imagine if you did a prompt ahead of time. I'm meeting with the CFO of this type of company. This is what they do, blah, blah, blah. Then I say, okay, their challenge is ABC. How could I explain this feature in a way that's in their language? So think about what it really allows you to do, at least how I think about this, is helps me to put together that. Like I could say, how could I, talk about how I can solve their challenges given their current gap or issue with their current product or that they have is this. So think of all the different ways that when you hear a problem, you could say, okay, how does this relate to that persona? How could I better explain these 3 things? The industry. Okay, so someone's having these challenges in these industries, and I have a product that does this. What are the top 2 ways I could highlight how I can help them? Boom, that's it. So again, problem, solution, mapping. All right, next up here. Oh, I keep trying to use it. While I was out of town, my Bluetooth trackpad died, which for any of those who know what I'm talking about, it's like you got to actually use the trackpad up here now. So let me see here. Focus, 1 more hour. Okay, done. Okay, so number 7, objection handling. Okay, so number 7 is objection. Spell it right, handling. Okay, so again, not dissimilar from some of the other use cases. Right. So again, these are for sales reps. I'm not even talking about SDRs, right? Leo's talking about he's using it for cold calls, which you should, which is awesome. Again, I have a meeting. So imagine you can role play objections. You can ask ChatGPT or Bing to make up objections. Like one of my favorite prompts is, hey, I'm meeting with the CFO for a company that does ABC. I'm worried the CFO is going to push back. What are the most likely top 2 objections that this person's going to have? And then imagine a world where I can literally like prepare in my meeting with those objections. So if I can, in advance of the meeting, I can think of, okay, maybe, and I was telling this group of senior reps on Friday, even, look, you guys have ran, thousands of meetings. It can just be good to get a gut check to say, okay, I feel pretty good about this. What are the top 3? If this person, and again, you can tell it, be a very difficult client, be very direct. What are the top 2 things that you would say to try to not buy what I do, right? So think of all these different, again, it could be around a common objection. It could be around a specific situation with a prospect. Hey, my prospect is using Excel and email right now. They seem to be relatively happy with it. Based on our conversations, here's where we feel like we differentiate. Help me to put together a final pitch that overcomes the status quo. Boom. So again, think of addressing objections, not just in real time, but helping me to prep, helping me to be better ready for objections that are going to come up in the call. This one for me, for a lot of you sellers out there, is just it's a really big one. So if you're not using it for this one, please do. I like this one a lot. So number 8. So now we're going to get into the current customers. So for those of you who haven't kind of been following, numbers 1 through 3 are focused on generating new meetings. And I went through 4 on Monday. Then we've got 4 that are focused on the sales process. And this camera keeps moving a lot. All right, I'll get that fixed. So number 8 is customer engagement communication. All right, there we go. Okay. Customer engagement communication. Okay, this could be like messaging, or this could be, again, a lot of these are. New customer. You get a new customer you inherit. New industry you're in. Different ways to think about building rapport. Think about how you can turn, and Brian, since you're listening right now, Brian, I think we need to, again, we got too many messagings in here. So I think let's come up with a new name for 8 here as well. I just put it in here. Customer engagement communication. How often, and if you've been on the sales side of it, it's terrible. You get handed off to a new rep and they're like, yeah, tell me more about your business. And they haven't done any research or anything. And you're like, dude, really? You did no research? It's pathetic, right? So again, think about how could I use ChatGPT for my current customers to help me to think about, okay, this individual, what are they, how might, here's how they talk about themselves. How might, I might adapt my communication style to them. What are some things that I could talk about that might help me to build, rapport with this person? Again, like a lot of people, we do this stuff, somewhat intuitively, but the real area of opportunity here is how do we actually, use this to better increase the quality of conversations we're having with current customers. So again, a lot of the different tactics we talked about, variations of them are used throughout each step of the process, right? So for me, I love the idea of, for current customers, your customer success team should be using ChatGPT every single new customer. Hey, they work in this industry. We solve these challenges. What are some things that might be important for me to you call it, help them, right? Or I can help them. Like, what are some areas they might want to use our product, etc. So I love that one. And then last, but certainly not least, is getting up to speed internally, or, again, which is kind of similar to what we're talking about now too. Getting up to speed on. Yeah, Brian, these feel kind of similar, if I'm being honest. But with this one in particular, how I would think about this is it can also help them to get up to speed on the customer. Meaning there's all these like anecdotal things about like how they want to talk, their industry, etc. But look, I could upload the call transcript from like their last 2 calls. I could say, hey, quickly summarize for me the top 3 reasons this customer bought. Right? There's a good example of one. So imagine, I could use this for internal. Hey, here's some of the notes. What are the top 3 things that are important to them, that you saw from the notes or that you heard from the call recording? So again, what you could do hypothetically here, same thing with like, issue resolution. What are some of the issues that are coming up that are important that somebody in this role might already have based on what you saw from the sales information? What are some potential issues that might pop up? I could think about, if a customer has like some type of resolution or request, I could, very much potentially say, hey, I've got a client. They're having, I wouldn't call this getting up to speed. This is maybe in the messaging bucket, but, they keep having this problem. What are 2 or 3 different ways I might want to tackle this differently? So I think, there's a lot of applications here. Again, I feel like too much of the sales tech I'm seeing is focused on generating more meetings. How do I generate more meetings? What's the process for generating it? But the reality of the situation is it is for so much more than, any of these things. So that is what's up, everyone. There is your top 9. So different ways to utilize ChatGPT. So again, top of funnel, preparation, right? Again, I love Leo called out. He's doing it for role playing, 100%. Messaging, nuanced messaging, and then follow up. My sales teams, advanced meeting prep, building, credibility as a part of this, problem solution matching, and proactive objection handling. So again, those are my favorites. And then for all of my current customers, there's, again, better ways to engage with them and better ways, and then second, number 9 is getting up to speed on the customer as well. So it feels like, look, I cannot tell you how important these topics are. And obviously, look, if you guys are interested in learning more, feel free. A bunch of people book meetings for this week. So looking forward to that. If you have any questions, etc. I'm going to drop a link in here. If I can just find it really quickly for you. There it is. So make sure we're going to be, make sure to sign up. I mentioned this last week. This starts in a couple weeks. 2 quick things. One is if you, good. Ankit said very clear. Love that. If you didn't hear the news, Mr. Kevin Dorsey and I are launching a 9-part series coming up between now and the end of the year, where we're going to be going deep on a lot of these. So sign up for that. I just dropped the registration there. It starts in a couple of weeks. Also, if your organization is looking to incorporate AI, and I cannot tell you how many times, I'll do this in a room where a VP of sales, I'll say, hey, sales leaders, how many of you think that your sales team is using ChatGPT every day? Hey, sales leaders, how many of you actually have a strategy for how your team can use it? Yep. None. My friends, I'm talking about 20 to 30% increase in productivity if you can do a fraction of what I just mentioned. So if you want to book time with me or the team, I dropped the calendar in there. If you want to, again, sign up for the series with me and KD. It's a no-brainer. Brian just dropped it in there as well, too. Absolute no-brainer. But those are my 4. Those are my 9. Those are my 5 from today and my 9 total for you to kind of work on. And we're going to be doing a series where we break down each one of these for absolute free. We're also working on some other cool things around prompts and different cheat sheets for everyone. So stay tuned for some of that. That'll be ready in a couple of weeks. So that's what's up, everyone. That's what I got for today. That gives you between last week and this week all 9 of our kind of top areas where ChatGPT and other generative AI can impact your sales process. We have a little bit of time here, so feel free. I've got 2 different kind of screens here. One, if you have additional questions, please drop those now. And then I've got some questions that we already had from before. So the first question is around ChatGPT. And it says, basically, I'm not sure exactly where to incorporate it. Obviously, this video that I just did, summarizes the nine areas. But I'll just give you all just like real quick. If you said, Jake, I have 2 hours and I want to know with ChatGPT, if I had 2 hours to learn or to master, what are the most important things if I was in sales? Okay. Number 1 is how to leverage ChatGPT to impersonate other people and situations that you are going to encounter in sales. Okay. And that this isn't impersonate to go scam people. Okay. This is impersonate to say, look, I'm a CFO in this industry. Okay. What are my top 2 objections going to be around this? Okay, I'm this person and these are the things I cared about. And this is what I said on the last meeting. What are the top 3 objections you might have on the next call? So think about, how can I train ChatGPT to impersonate people in situations that allow me to prep? It allows me to maybe have better interactions in real time. It allows me to think ahead. That would be number 1. Number 2 is research, meaning any type of research, any type of getting something started, anytime I have a new project, anytime I have a new something or new scenario, have it start to spit out some of the initial research for me. Hey, I've got a new meeting. This is what's coming up. I don't know a lot about this. Can you tell me the top 4 areas to get started? Amazing. So what ChatGPT allows me to do is it allows me to start, as opposed to if like having to spend hours in search, I can just kind of jump ahead and save myself a ton of time. And no, it's going to be 80% directionally correct. So make sure 80% is okay and you don't need 100%. And then I can just start to like really whittle it down to what I want to get to. And then, like I said, number 1 is, how do I get it to behave and act like other people in situations that's going to allow me to have higher quality conversations? There you go. In 1 hour, if that's all I had, maybe 2, I would get really, really good at those 2 pieces. All right, let's see here if we've got any other questions that have come in. It's a part of this. All right. Yep, I've got a couple more here. Okay, this one's an interesting one. This is a little sidebar. This is about LinkedIn. I love when I get my LinkedIn questions here. How does the LinkedIn algorithm work? Okay, little departure from the ChatGPT, but hey, I'm all good with that. So here's what I would tell you. The LinkedIn algorithm is always changing, always is evolving. So I'm telling you this right now in August, basically, of 2023, the most important things to understand about the LinkedIn algorithm. Number 1 is this concept of dwell time. Now, a really good short post with like a good video or something where you're kind of keeping it in your frame of view is going to perform well too. But the reason you see a lot of long posts on LinkedIn is counting the amount of time that you dwell. TikTok does this, Instagram, everyone does this. So just understand, you want posts that are going to get people to want to really read them. You know, you don't want them to be too dense. That's why you see a lot of like the spacing that people do. Number 2. Okay, so that's it. Make sure you understand dwell time is important. Okay, number 2, text-only posts are fine for LinkedIn. Why do you think TikTok, for those of you who don't know, TikTok just launched text-only post? Interesting. And LinkedIn's been doing that for a long time. Now, I wish LinkedIn would actually give you-know-what about videos. But for those of you, text-only posts actually perform really, really well on LinkedIn. So if you don't feel comfortable in front of camera, whether it's images or video, don't stress it. Text-only posts can do really, really well. So again, that'll hit on dwell time. That will establish yourself if, again, you're not that comfortable in front of a camera. But I will say number 3 is that not every post you should be focused on views versus connecting with your audience. So I do a decent amount of video on LinkedIn because it lets people know who I am. In a text-only post, I can kind of read into it. But if by doing video, you will build stronger bonds with your audience. Right? So think about it that way. You might get less views, but it's going to help you to build stronger bonds. So those are my quick 3. If you want to know kind of how the LinkedIn algorithm works or how I think about my strategy on LinkedIn, dwell time is important. So I make sure I write posts that I think people will want to like really read or reread. Number 2, text posts are what I do more of on a typical bit. But number 3, I still like to do video to connect because you get a chance to see me. Who am I really? How do I talk? How do I interact with people, etc. So for any of you, if you're trying to get more active on LinkedIn, that would be my top advice. All right, what time we got here? Do I got time for one more? Yeah, okay, I have time for one more. Okay, next question I have here is my take on hiring and firing. Biggest lessons I've learned from being fired personally and at Skaled from going through this. Number 1 is it's never a surprise, meaning one piece that I really pride myself on in my organization is we are very good at communicating performance, where people are throughout the process. We're not perfect, right? We do make mistakes and sometimes don't have the tough conversations as soon as they need to. But I would say in aggregate, I think we do a good job of this, where people are, where they're standing. And then on the same piece is hiring them for their next role. Everyone has a professional development plan. Here's what your next role looks like. Here's the expectations of that role. So it should never be a surprise. It should never be a surprise that someone's performing poorly. and it should never be a surprise for how they can actually get promoted. That to me is number one. On the hiring side, we use a process. It's based off of a book called Who. What it does is helps to make all of our roles based on the skill sets that need to be done and not getting overwhelmed with personalities. Sometimes in an interview, you know, we are all a great variation of ourselves in interviews. And so we have very specific skills that we delineate for each role. And then within those skills, we also have easy to change, coachable, and difficult to change skills. So, you know, if you score a little bit lower on something that's a green, okay, well, that's okay because I know we can coach you. Whereas if you're consistently scoring low on the skills that are really difficult, integrity, maybe some other things, then, hey, that might be a red flag that, you know, this person may be difficult to, you know, coach up if they do need support for coaching. And then the last piece of advice I'll give is around, actually, I'll give two. I'll give one more for getting promoted and one more for firing. Number one for getting promoted is make sure you are crystal clear with everyone the criteria. I teased this before, but make sure everybody really knows, like, this is what we're looking for, because I feel like a lot of companies, especially in sales, it's like, it's not just being a top performer, it's everything else. And like, you got to be really clear on what those other things are, so then people know the bar that they're trying to get to. And then on the kind of the transitioning piece, it needs to be to the point and done with empathy. And I think, like, sometimes I see, you know, when we have to let go of people, we're not, you know, direct. Well, one, you got to do what I said before. It should never be a surprise. And then whenever that time comes, you know, be empathetic to what this person's going through. It's never about you. My gosh, I've heard some horror stories where it's like, you know, oh, this is hard. Dude, they don't care. Nobody cares that it's hard for you. They're the ones getting let go. So just think about, to the point, empathetic. What are next steps? If you can't, you know, if depending on the circumstances, you know, what you can offer them in terms of like ongoing support, finding another role, etc. But again, be direct, but also have empathy. Script out the conversations, write out what you're going to say. That would be another kind of piece of advice there. So that's what I got. That's what I got for you really quickly, kind of my do's and don'ts around hiring, firing, you know, getting promoted. So hope that helps some of you out there going through that. So that's what's up, everyone. There we go. So that's what I got for today. A little ChatGPT, some bonus Q&A at the end. Teresa, I agree. Difficult people are a perception. Yeah, that's a whole other, I could get into a whole other thing about that many times people that you perceive to be difficult, there's just a miscommunication on expectations. They're expecting something, the boss is accepting something else, and nobody ever has that come to. And sometimes as an employee, you have to do it. Sometimes as a leader, you have to recognize it. But, you know, if people understand where they're at and performing, they understand what the next step is for them, and they understand the gaps, then, you know, it's a more of a database conversation. So that's what's up, everyone. I will see you next Monday, right? Next Monday? Yeah, next Monday. I'll be in Phoenix, I think, then, but should be a good one. More conversations around AI and what's the latest and greatest in sales technology. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. As usual, make sure book time if this is top of mind for you in the organization, and look forward to seeing everyone here on the next live next week. See ya.